Miami Dolphins today is presented by Magic Spoon. Head on over to magicspoon.com/Dolphins and save $5 off your first order of Magic Spoon. We'll be talking a little bit more about their delicious products here in just a bit. But, hey, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins here. And really when it comes down to this, it's been a rough opening couple of days, or really a couple of weeks if we're being honest about this. With all the rumors coming out in terms of Deshaun Watson and everything like that, it's really interesting to see how this team would bounce back. But before we get into any of that, I am curious because this is now six in a row, should Brian Flores be fired after this loss? And feels really dirty to, ask this question. But when you lose 6 in a row and it just seems like the end was in sight potentially, and now there's all these rumors with Deshaun Watson and everything, and just really all the smoke around the Dolphins right now, I got to ask, should Brian Flores be fired after this heartbreaking loss to the Atlanta Falcons? Type F for fire, type K for keep. I'm on the fence right here, but at the same time, with all of the really just awful coordinating decisions he's made, it's hard not to press that F button, but let me know down in the comments below. As I mentioned, a heartbreaker for the Dolphins in this one, 30-28 as the Atlanta Falcons kick a game-winning field goal as time expired in this one. And really the biggest thing for the Dolphins in this game was Tua Tagovailoa. I actually thought he looked really good outside of 2 throws, which were pretty costly throws, if we're being honest about it. One of them was deep in the red zone, actually was picked off in the end zone, and then the other one was just him trying to do too much. Simple and plain, that's what it came down to. But it is the first time in Tua Tagovailoa's career that he has thrown 3 or more TDs in a game. And after all of these rumors circulating around the Dolphins right now, and potentially Tua Tagovailoa getting traded for Deshaun Watson or somewhere else in a 3-team deal, I thought Tua actually played really well today and helped the Dolphins get back in this one in the fourth quarter, something that we hadn't really seen before from Tua. Unfortunately, though, you lose by a field goal. I mean, you lost on a last-second field goal. That's what happened. But let me hear you. Your one-word reaction to the Dolphins' loss to the Falcons. I will preface that Brian Flores question with this. It's good to see that the team hasn't given up on him. I think that's the biggest thing that really grinds my gears, I guess you could say, when it comes down to things like this, is when teams quit on their head coach. The Dolphins haven't done that, and that was very apparent even in this loss against the Falcons. Let me know what that one-word reaction is to this Dolphins loss to the Falcons. For me, it's resilient. I mean, you go into the fourth quarter, and it felt like the game was over. You have to credit the offense. They really took the game into their own hands and had a 28-27 lead. And then Kyle Pitts happened. Kyle Pitts, that's what happened. And it happened a lot today, 135 yards. But I did like to see the resiliency from the Miami Dolphins, specifically from the quarterback position in Tua Tagovailoa, who he was really on one today, like I said, outside of 2 throws. That one in the end zone you'd love to have back, but he had a 75% completion percentage, almost threw for 300 yards, and had 4 touchdowns for the first time in his career. Again, this is the Tua that people expected when he was drafted 5th overall out of Alabama. You wanted a franchise quarterback that could lead you back and give you a chance to win. He did just that. Unfortunately, the defense didn't hold up their end of the bargain, and Matt Ryan made a couple of great throws on that last drive, and that's what franchise quarterbacks do, is help teams win. Tua put his team in a position to win. Unfortunately, defense didn't help him out. Let's go back to school real quick, though. Grade Tua's Week 7 performance, A, B, C, D, or F. I'm not going to lie to you guys. About midway through the third quarter, I had this as a C-. And then Tua's performance in the fourth quarter changed everything, and I have him at a B+. I thought that he was the reason Miami was still even relevant in this game and had a chance to win it at the very end. Yes, I get it. It was a bad throw on the interceptions. Well, at least one in the end zone. That was a big turning point right there for Miami, but the other interception, he was trying to do too much, and I get it. You don't want him making that throw, but at least he wasn't just throwing it away. He was trying to make something happen. Overall, again, I thought Tua played absolutely phenomenal today, and I give him a B+. Speaking of phenomenal, Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is the best tasting cereal on the market, and the best part about it, it's healthy for you too, with up to 14 grams of protein, only 4 grams of net carbs, and 0 grams of sugar. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know why you're eating any other cereal. You can throw all those childlike ones out the window right now because Magic Spoon is great tasting, and it won't get you that pouch. Let's just say that. You won't get the pouch, if you know what I'm saying. But Magic Spoon, absolutely delicious, and some of these flavors that they have are just ridiculous. Thinking about this, the blueberry one, absolutely love it. Cinnamon as well. I mean, really, they have every flavor you could want, and let's be honest about it. We know what my favorite flavor is at this point. I'm in love with the cocoa. You will be too. Head over to magicspoon.com and save $5 off your first order of Magic Spoon. I'm serious about this. I eat 2 or 3 bowls of cereal a day, and Magic Spoon just makes me feel way less guilty about it because typically with those other cereals, I try to only eat 1 bowl because I was not trying to get that pouch, if you know what I'm saying. The winter is coming, but I do not want to have that pouch on me. But Magic Spoon makes me feel a whole lot less guilty. Head over to magicspoon.com and save $5 off your first order of Magic Spoon. The Dolphins offense. Damn. 28 points. We don't see that very often. Wow. It felt like we were in a Big 12 game right here, a shootout almost with the Dolphins as they go over 400 total yards in this one and score 28 points. I mean, overall, there were some parts where the offense looked pretty bad. I will admit that, but I thought Tua and the offense looked good, and they look good after even when the plays are scripted, right? Like, that's the big deal about this offense. It seems like every week the first drive is amazing, right? It looked absolutely amazing, and that's the thing that is just so frustrating about this offense is that after the first drive and the scripted plays go away, you know what to expect. It's going to be really bad. But then in the fourth quarter, at least, 4 out of the 5, maybe 4 out of the 6 times you've lost this season, they've come out and played really well in the fourth quarter. I just don't know where that switch is after the first drive of the game. It has to happen a lot sooner, but this offense looks really good when the plays are scripted. You just need to have that throughout the whole game in terms of not scripting the plays, but just having a mindset of, hey, we need to go out there and perform and actually do what we're good at. They just get far, far away of what worked on the first drive, and it's just kind of irritating, really. But it wasn't irritating to see this guy involved in the game plan quite a bit. Jalen Waddle had 8 targets for 7 receptions and 83 yards, really starting to form that Alabama connection once again with Tua Tagovailoa. And I love what I'm seeing in terms of how he was used this week, right? He's used around the line of scrimmage and everything like that. But I think the biggest thing for me with Jalen Waddle, I want to see him used in the intermediate routes. I want to see him used deep on a deep post. I want to see him used differently, right? That's what I want to see. The thing is how long is this Alabama connection going to last? Because was this Tua's last game in Miami with all of these Deshaun Watson rumors? And if you listen to Jay Glazer, who's probably one of the most tapped-in guys when it comes to the NFL beat in the National Football League, is this could happen relatively quick. Miami looks like they're in the driver's seat to land Deshaun Watson. And if this is the way that Tua went out, throwing the ball a ton to Mike Gesicki and Jalen Waddle, there's a blueprint there, right? I don't think the Dolphins second guess at this point because, well, you want Deshaun Watson, you're this deep into the negotiations, you probably are going to get the deal done. But I do find it interesting that Tua Tagovailoa had by far his best game as a professional when all these rumors are taking place about his future. Maybe that's in Houston, maybe that's up in Washington, D.C. Who knows at this point in terms of Tua and his future in Miami. But I do find it interesting that he had his best game as a Dolphin this week. But I'm curious, was this Tua's last game in a Dolphins uniform? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Man, it's hard to say. I mean, there's so much smoke at this point. It's hard not to believe there's fire when it comes to these Deshaun Watson rumors. But, man, if that was Tua's last game, which I don't know if it will be, I think he probably plays one more week in a Dolphins uniform. Man, that was a hell of a performance to go out for sure. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that big red button and subscribe to Miami Dolphins Today. We're keeping you in the know all year long about your Miami Dolphins, including the latest rumors, news. Going to get into the hot seat type stuff with the head coach firmly on the hot seat for the Miami Dolphins, who could potentially be the new head coach next season if the Miami Dolphins do decide to move on from Brian Flores. It's your one-stop shop for everything Miami Dolphins. Be sure to hit that big red button and subscribe to Miami Dolphins Today. The Dolphins defense, well, they gave up basically 400 total yards and 30 points, but they created some turnovers, right? They wreaked havoc on Matt Ryan, who fumbled through an interception. I mean, I thought the Dolphins defense actually looked pretty good, all things considered. And really the reason I'm saying that is because you lost Jerome Baker early in this game, and he left in the first quarter, did not return with a knee injury. There was footage of him on Twitter walking to the locker room, and man, it sucks to lose a guy like that in terms of that's the quarterback of your defense, right? That's the guy that's calling out the plays and everything. I thought the Dolphins' defense actually looked pretty good, all things considered, losing him early on in this one. And the main reason why, Holland, man, my goodness, what a game from the Rook out of Oregon, huh? 5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and he had a pass breakup. I mean, he laid the wood on Calvin Ridley on one of those plays where it looked like it was a fumble almost in a way. I guess Calvin Ridley just didn't hold on to the football long enough. But, man, he was flying everywhere around the field today for Miami. And it was just good to see him get more snaps, right? That was the biggest thing for me is I respect McCourty back there in the secondary, but you drafted Holland high in the second round. He opted out last year at Oregon, but he's one of those guys that's a difference maker on the back end of the defense. He proved that today with a lot of his plays, and unfortunately the secondary couldn't hold up and beat the Falcons, but I do love the direction that the secondary is going with Holland being a focal point at the safety position, just because, again, that's something you haven't had in a while for Miami. Eric Rowe, who we'll talk about here in just a minute, had a solid game tackle-wise, but typically you don't want your safety leading the way in tackles unless they're down in the box, and Eric Rowe was not down in the box. So I got to ask this question one more time, guys. Should Brian Flores be fired after this loss? Type F for fired, type K for keep. Again, he's supposed to be a defensive guy, and the defense just hasn't been good this year. Saw a stat earlier this week before this game against the Falcons where Miami was the 32nd ranked defense in Flores' first year, then improved to 6th, and now are 31st this year in 2021. You cannot have that kind of regression if you are a defensive-minded head coach like Brian Flores is. Something has to change, but I want to know your opinion on the head coach and really just the guy that's making the decisions with the coordinators and Brian Flores. Let me know down in the comments if you think that they should fire or keep Brian Flores. Some standouts from Week 7 for the Miami Dolphins. Hey, we haven't seen that guy in a while, Jeff. That's cool to see. Myles Gaskin, I forgot he was a dude. I honestly forgot the Miami Dolphins had running backs just the past couple weeks. I really did. But Myles Gaskin, 15 carries, had over 60 yards, 67 to be exact, and then he also had a receiving touchdown. It's like, oh my gosh, you put the ball in his hands in space and he does good. It's a crazy concept, Godsey and Studsville. Maybe y'all should just look it up. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I don't know. Pretty simple in my opinion. Also, this one's simple as well. Get Mike Gesicki the ball and good things happen. Especially when you throw it up 10 feet in the air, he's going to box out everybody and go up there and get it. That's exactly what he did on his touchdown catch, and he had 7 receptions for 85 yards and a TD. I mean, I don't know why Tua and the guys aren't just targeting Mike Gesicki and Jalen Waddle on every play. Like, why not? I mean, the offense can't get any worse at this point. Just throw it to those two guys every time, and they almost did that today as in the game. Think about this. Like, Kyle Pitts and Mike Gesicki went bananas. This was a tight end extravaganza down in Miami Gardens, and Mike Gesicki was heavily involved. I love to see that. And speaking of another guy that was heavily involved, Eric Rowe. I loved what I saw from him on that back end. As I mentioned earlier, you probably don't want your safety leading your team in tackles. He had 9 and led the way for the Dolphins. He did have 1 pass breakup. He struggled against Kyle Pitts on 1 or 2 plays. But I think overall, when you look at what was going on with Eric Rowe, right, in this secondary in general, you kind of have to tip your cap to Matt Ryan, right? There was a throw on that last drive to go down there and get in field goal range where, for me, it was one of those deals where I'm looking exactly what Matt Ryan was doing on this deep ball, and he was just dropping dots today, right? Kyle Pitts was making phenomenal catches, whether it was against really anybody in the secondary, Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Eric Rowe. I mean, these guys were absolutely electric back there, but you just have to tip your cap at some point to really the quarterback on the other side. I thought Eric Rowe had a really solid game. It just wasn't enough in the end because, man, that Falcons offense really just placed the ball perfectly. You have to tip your cap to Matt Ryan. But overall, it was really good to see Eric Rowe get back and really show his presence down there, go down in the box, also be back in coverage, and make a couple of guys really look silly when it comes down to it in the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver group. Before we get out of here, man, I know I feel like I've been repetitive on this show, Jeff, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Am I right? Was this Tua's last game in the Dolphins uniform? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I'll leave you with this stat again. This was the first time in Tua Tagovailoa's career that he threw for 3 touchdowns or more. He threw for 4. He almost threw for 300 yards. And I truly believe he was the reason that Miami was in a position to even have a chance to win in the fourth quarter in that last couple of minutes. He was throwing dimes. Yes, I get it. He had a couple of bad throws throughout the day. But overall, I thought Tua Tagovailoa looked like the quarterback you wanted. And Brian Flores even said after the game that Tua Tagovailoa embodied everything you want out of a franchise quarterback and then some. Was it just a little too late for the second-year pro out of Alabama? Let us know down in the comments. Was this Tua's last game in a Dolphins uniform? Type Y for yes or in for no.